There is nothing stronger than a family business, I think. I think family business are something unique. And if we can keep it for many generations to come, it's wonderful.
We like to be international. We like the ag business. We think it's wonderful to grow and to market products that are good for the health of people. We really grew our passion and grew our understanding of our mission, our purpose.
Our obsession, I think, was to build as much diversification as possible everywhere. Because I was obsessed by sustainability, to me, a company needs to live forever.
Life throws at you some difficulties sometimes, but also lots of opportunities. And if you stay open and you watch for those, there are plenty coming at you.
Welcome to the Ground Up podcast. In this episode, I speak with my parents, Michel and Veronique Sallin. Theirs is a story of adventure, entrepreneurship, agriculture, adversity, and resilience. Together, they co-founded IMG Enterprises, one of the most successful and sustainable Florida agricultural businesses. I hope you'll enjoy this conversation.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us. We are happy to be with you.
Always good to be with you, together.
Yeah, we're here together. In fact, we're on vacation. Maybe we can start by telling people where we are.
We are in Normandy, in a little village called Sainte-Foy-de-Montgomery. It's where we are in family house. I was born in this house. My father was born also in this house. So it's a special place for the family. Yeah.
It is. It's really wonderful to be able to come back to a homestead where we have such deep roots. The house I think it was purchased by my great-great-grandmother during World War I.
That's right. Mm-hmm. In 1917, her husband was on the front in Verdun, and for several years, they said, we would like to buy this house. One day it's available, and it became available during the war in 1917. My grandfather was not here, and my grandmother, all by herself, decided to make the deal. So that was, at the time, it was something special, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Fairly unusual for a woman to purchase a house on her own at that time in 1917, but maybe that was a sign of things to come, of powerful women in business that has continued on in our family. And the house is pretty old, well older than 1917.
Yeah, the first part of the house was built in 450 years ago, so that's it's pretty old, yes. But the house has been modified every 50 years. I think each generation was adding something, so it's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of history here, a lot of World War II history, of course, and older than that. So I remember exploring as a kid the attics and the farmhouses, the barns, and discovering all kinds of treasures. And I'm very grateful that you guys have chosen to keep the house and to remodel it so that we can continue to enjoy it for generations.
Yeah, it was more than a house. It was a business for my grandfather, because he used to produce cider and Calvados on these premises. And you have one building where he used to crush the apples and make the cider, another building where he used to make the Calvados. And there is another building on the property where they used to make cheese. Livaro is just 2-3 miles away from here. It's a famous village for very good cheese. And you have another village 3 miles away called Camembert. That's everybody knows Camembert. And my grandparents used to make cheese. And the building where we are here, as a matter of fact, that was a stable. There was, and when I was a kid, I've seen cows and horses in this building. And where we are here, they used to store hay for the animals.
And Mom, you weren't you did not grow up in Normandy. Where did you grow up?
No, not by far. I learned about Normandy when meeting with Michel after business school. But I was raised in the Paris area in Fontainebleau, which is a royal city, just like Versailles, about the same distance to Paris as Versailles. And then my parents, when I was 16, moved to the Alps in a beautiful town of Annecy. And I spent 7 years in Paris. So I was more of a city girl than a country girl. I have learned to love the countryside, to love the peaceful lifestyle in the country, and especially now at that time of our life. It's just wonderful to be more relaxed and to be close to nature. So I think I'm being converted in a country girl.
So tell us the story of your adventure from Normandy to Florida.
Where should I start? Should I
Start at the beginning.
At the beginning? Okay. Or should I start when we met?
Yes, that'd be fine.
Yes. So we met. It was interesting the way we met, because so I went to I studied in Paris, and I went to a business school called HEC. And after at the end, after graduation, I had a good friend, and we said, we are not going to start working right away. We need to do something. We need to travel before we start in the active real life. So we had a plan to go to South Africa. We had met just 1 month before two young girls, very nice girls from South Africa, and we told them like this: hey, we are going to come and see you. And say, okay, we are going to South Africa. No plan. And that was my friend and I. But my friend came to me one day and said, hey, I've got a cousin who would be interested to the traveling with us and go to South Africa. And that was Veronique. And that's how I met Veronique. I said, hey, no problem. I just want to meet her first. And we had a small dinner organized in Paris. She was living in Paris at the time. She was also in a business school, but a different business school. And we met for the first time at this evening. And of course, I said, yeah, no problem. Let's go. And she decided to bring a friend with her. She did not want to be the only girl. So we left. We were four of us. We went to South Africa. And that's where we learned to, we discover each other. And in South Africa, we said, hey, we should get married. And that's what we did when we returned to France. The trip lasted about 9 months. Back in France, I needed a job because, I was married now. So I just went back to the company I knew, where I did an internship when I was at HEC Business School. And I did, when I left the company, they told me, you come back whenever you want. I did not have any plan to come back, but I did go back to them and say, hey, I'm here now. Well, when do you want me to start? So they gave me a job. I was working in international finance at the time, and they sent me to London and Switzerland. But mostly I was working from Paris. And one day Veronique told me, we need to travel. Let's go. Let's go somewhere else. And I said, yeah, why not? That could be interesting. And it was a big international company. They had subsidiaries in many different countries in the world. And I talked to my boss, and he said, no problem. I'm going to check what I have available. I just told him, we want to go abroad, and I don't want to be in finance anymore. I was working in finance for this company. I was doing how do you call that? I was doing
Cash flow management.
Cash flow management, international. I was managing the different currencies of the subsidiary, and I wanted to go in sales. And I said, could you find me a job in sales abroad? And when he came back to me 2 days later, he said, I've got three possibilities. I've got in Tehran, Iran, Montreal, Quebec, or New York, USA. And I told him at the time, the three destinations are fine with that. Just give me the most interesting job. Where do you think the job will be more interesting? And that's where we go. And he sent us to New York. So that's how we arrive in New York.
Just like that. It could have been Tehran.
It could have been yes. So in life, it's you don't plan, because we wanted to travel. We have been traveling 9 months together through Africa. We wanted to discover the world, so we were ready to go anywhere. Yeah.
And you were okay with this plan?
You know, I am not sure I was that consulted, but and Iran might have been a problem for me, but it all turned out. So everything went okay. We were in New York. We were safe. We were excited, and it was just a really great adventure.
But at the time, Iran was a beautiful country. It was a nice country. Today, that would be a different story. Yeah.
This was 1978, 77?
1977, I would say.
Yeah, so that was before the coup in Iran, which was 79.
That was before the coup, yeah.
So you ended up in New York. At this point, you have two children, my older sister, Melanie. I was an infant. And I guess...
You were 9 months when we got to New York. And Chloe was born in New York 3 years later.
So you spent some time in New York, and eventually you made your way to Florida, where our story really takes off. Before we go further in the story, I want to maybe ask you to describe what did you create with IMG Enterprises, Cherrylake, and IMG Citrus. Maybe we can fast forward a little bit to what we have today. How would you describe it?
Wow, you know, I think at hindsight, when you put all the years together, you know, it looks like impressive what we've created, but it was done one step at a time, and it never was too big. It was just a progression, and we progressed at a rhythm that was okay with us, and so now that we see what we passed on to you, the burden that we gave you, we never had that burden, because it was always the right size for the right time for us, as we grew little at a time, one step at a time.
Mm-hmm. But it's an agricultural business. Mm-hmm. And maybe for our listeners who aren't very familiar with the companies, what are the companies and what do they do?
So there are two divisions, I would say, in the company. One is citrus. Everything is around citrus. So when we started in the citrus business, we started as a broker. We were buying fruit from different packing house in Florida and selling. We started to sell 100% of the fruit export, Europe and Japan. And then it changed. Now we are doing, I would say, close to 100% domestic market. But we started as a broker. I don't know if the way it started, it was, I don't know if the story is It was not planned. When I was in New York, my father, who was in the apple juice, apple cider business, asked me if I could organize a trip in Florida. He wanted to visit
The juice plants.
orange juice plant because he thought he could learn from this industry. So it was wind. I remember it was a winter. It was in January in New York, very cold. I say, wow, that's a good a good opportunity to go in the sunshine. And I did not know anything about citrus, but I organized a trip for him. It was 1 week trip in Florida. So I made contact with the citrus growers. I made contact with the juice plant. And during this trip, I met an interesting guy who had a packing house, and he was packing Florida grapefruit. And he asked me, he said, "Hey, I understand that there is a market in France for Florida grapefruit. Could you find me a customer over there?" And I had connection in France. We look around, and that's how we started. We started just to help a friend to market his fruit in Europe. And I remember the first year we did we shipped 10,000 cartons, about 10 containers of fruit. Then the second year we did 30 containers. The third year we did 100 containers, and from then we doubled every year for several years. But it's only so that's how we started. We saw there was a market. We had good. Our customers were very happy with the quality, so we built a brand. We promoted the brand. And it's only later that we decided to invest in citrus grove, so that we could better control the product. So we invested in citrus grove, and then later we invested in packing house. So we did the contrary of what most people. Generally, most people start.
They start farming.
They start farming, and then they build the marketing. No, we started to build the marketing, and then we did the farming. And so we were totally integrated, and that's what our customers wanted. And our differentiation at the time is that we decided to go directly to the retailers on the European market. Everybody was going through fruit importer, and we chose to talk directly to the largest retailers, and that's how we differentiated our product. Yeah. So that's the citrus business is one part, and then we had a big freeze in the 80s. We had the first freeze was Christmas 1983, and there was 13 months later in January 1985 another bad freeze, and we had also another bad freeze in 89, which destroyed a lot. We were in Central Florida, and we lost most of our citrus grove at the time, which forced us to find diversification. And that's how we started the nursery business, ornamental trees. And so today we really have two divisions: the citrus division and the ornamental trees division.
Right. So the ornamental trees, Cherrylake, came about after the freezes, and in 1983 that was fairly soon after you had purchased the groves.
Yes, very soon. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So you purchased the groves, and then a few years later you lost the trees. Yeah, that must have been really tough.
It was a few difficult years. Yes, very difficult.
We were highly leveraged on these groves, and the value of the grove went completely down.
So you had a lot of debt.
So we had debts, and yeah. But
so how did you cope with that at the time?
But we still had our brokerage business was doing well, because Florida froze, but not 100% of Florida. So there was still some fruit available. So we have been able to find to purchase fruit and have them packed, and we marketed this fruit. So we were not totally zero cash flow. It was very difficult, but it was not a total disaster because we had this brokerage operation. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it must have been very discouraging, though, to see your investment suffer like that.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So did you get a little discouraged, or you felt encouraged to keep going? Was it?
No, we wanted to keep going. We said, "Hey, it's a lesson learned. We need to diversify." And after the second freeze, after the one of January 1985, we studied many areas of diversification. We look at growing grapes in Florida, apple. We look at fish farming, walnuts, blueberries, and one of the things we looked at was ornamental trees. And we decided at the time there was a new technology with a grow bag coming on the market, and we found that was an interesting way to start a business, is to start with a new production method. So we started as a grow bag tree grower, and we did not know where we were going. We started with 5 acres, and we every year we were planting a little more, and we grew every year. But we did not start on a very large scale. We started very small.
I actually remember you collecting seeds out of the magnolia trees in our backyard to plant in the nursery.
Yes, remember.
And I think you would also just randomly stop. We'd be driving around, going to the store, and you would see a beautiful tree, and you would stop and knock on the person's door and ask if you could collect the seeds.
Yeah, that's right. It was fun, and what was nice, we did not know anything about growing trees, and that's always fun when you get into a business that you don't know anything about, because you talk to many people, and you just take the best ideas of everybody, and that's a big advantage, I think. We did not invent everything. We just look at what other people were doing, and every nursery, every tree farm in Florida has something unique, and they do something very nice. And the key was to get the best ideas and to put them together. And I remember at the time I visited the nursery not only in Florida, but in Texas, in California, in France, in Germany, Belgium, Italy, Holland, even Taiwan and Japan, and taking ideas from all these people. We did not invent anything. We just took the best ideas that other people had. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we were on a learning spree, and I remember doing a lot of traveling, but also a lot of trade shows all over the United States, overseas, trying to really learn as much as we could.
So I'm kind of discovering something about your story that I guess I didn't know. It sounds like you never really had a plan.
You're right. We started. It took many years before we started to say, okay, now we need a plan. We need a strategy. Initially, there was no strategy, no plan. No, that's right. We are reacting to. Yeah, no plan.
Reacting to opportunity and
reacting to opportunities and adversities. Yes, right. And that has been for many years, I guess. Yeah.
And did you have a sense early that you wanted to be in agriculture and farming? Was that something that you thought might be important to you, or?
No. I think that was an accident. I was.
Michel had an opportunity to take over the agribusiness of the family in Normandy. but he chose more was interested in finance and international business, and I think destiny just brought us back to the roots of Michel's family in agriculture. But life throws at you some difficulties sometimes, but also lots of opportunities. And if you stay open and you watch for those, there are plenty coming at you. And we really blessed to have all these opportunities.
Yeah, when I left my business school, I have no clue that I will be in business. I did not even thought about building my own business.
You didn't think you would be an entrepreneur?
No, I didn't. I thought that maybe I would work in a big multinational company and not probably in finance. That's what I thought, but it changed. Yeah, it's opportunity. And even when I decided to go in a business school just after my baccalaureate in France. Before that, from the age 6 or 7, I wanted to be a medical surgeon. So I changed. Somebody changed my mind overnight and say, "Hey, you should go in business. There is a beautiful business school called HEC. You should try to get into it." And I was convinced, and that's what I did.
And what did you think you would end up doing when you were in college?
When I was in college, I was going to be involved in marketing. I love people. Also, sales was an area that I would be interested in. So I had this idea, because of my personality, to be in those areas of business. Of course, I was in a business school, so I was going to do business. And so I got really. It all worked out for me, I found we had these opportunities, and I found my role in developing those opportunities in marketing and sales. So that it all worked out. Mm-hmm. It all worked out. If you have a preconceived, really too much of a preconceived idea, you miss the opportunity. You need to stay open and open to change, open to moving in different direction. If you see that the opportunity is valuable, is good for you, and that you can be successful in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but that's interesting to know. Yeah, no plan, no strategy. But I remember when we started on this export business, brokerage business, it was a very small organization. The two of us we had a third person with us. We were three of us. We were doing. I remember I was doing all the accounting, all the bookkeeping. Veronique was doing. I was doing quality control, and you were doing some quality control. Mm-hmm. She was doing sales. We were doing everything. We did not have time for planning. Yeah. We were too busy.
Yeah. But it takes away the stress. You don't have any anxiety because you're just moving along, and if opportunities happen to show a different road, you can go a different way. But I think there was actually a plan that we were not aware of to lead us where we are. Where we accomplished a career and developed this company, but we were not aware of it.
So the plan,
at least at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. At the beginning, yeah. For I don't know how many years, yeah.
And you ended up doing exactly the things that you wanted to do: international business, sales and marketing, finance. All of that was on the table, and your customers were all over the world. So I remember when we were very young, you would travel a lot. You would travel on your own at the beginning, and then you guys would travel together, and you saw the world.
Right,
and it's wonderful.
And you traveled with us. We usually would take you on some of the trips.
Yeah.
We would usually spend a month traveling throughout Europe because we had customers in 15 countries in Europe. So it was better to do it by car. And you came along on some of those trips with us, and I think there's great memories for us all to be together and meet those people that became our friends. The fact that we would visit the customers in person. This was a unique way to do business. Not a lot of people would do that from Florida, to go visit their customers and spend time with them. So we developed relationships all over the world and friendships that we still have now that you also have.
Yeah, it's very exciting to work internationally because you have the opportunity to travel and to meet people
And you learn a lot. You learn from these different business. All our customers were successful businesses, so you could learn about their success. Yeah.
So you didn't have a plan, but you were constantly learning.
Yes. And one day, I don't remember exactly when, we said, okay, now we need a plan, we need a strategy, we need to go to the next step. Yeah.
Sometimes I think about this travel that we did, this voyage in life. It's just like the human being life. You are a child. You're in childhood. You just don't have you don't know what you're doing. You're following along, and then at some point you're going to know a little bit more about who you are. You're going to see which are your pluses and your minuses, and what you like to do, and define yourself, your personality. And I think as a company, this happened to us also. At some point we realize, okay, we like to be international. We like the ag business. We think it's wonderful to grow and to market products that are good for the health of people. We really grew our passion and grew our understanding of our mission, our purpose. And so, but that happened, after quite a few years, that we finally discovered who we are and what our purpose is.
And I think the other thing is that at the beginning, because very early we had this big freeze, which created big problems in the company. That's for several years, we were just managing cash flow. The objective was, okay, we need to make it to the end of the month. So it was very short term. It was short term cash flow management. Get enough income to cover the expenses. And it's only when we were not focusing strictly on the cash flow that we could start to plan and have a strategy and develop a vision and build a business. But when you are obsessed by your cash flow, that's difficult, I think, to have a plan.
Yeah, so at some point you started to get your head above water and start to take stock of what your opportunities were and what you might want to do. Did you agree on what you wanted to do? Was there a lot of discussion? Did you define your vision and purpose in slightly different ways? How did that work out in the partnership?
No, I think we were quite aligned most of the time. We had the same background, we had the same education, we had we had the same values. So we always were a good team. We always worked well together. And Michel is a wonderful delegator, empowered. I was empowered. I could contribute. There was it was flowing really well.
Mm-hmm. So how did you kind of divide the roles? You said there was only 3 people in the company, so was that just whatever came naturally to each of you, or?
Yeah, I guess Veronique was, the expert in sales. That's
I think we both did sales, and you did a great deal of sales. At the beginning, I could not go to Japan on a short notice because I had 3 little people at home that needed me to be there. So I would work until 3 o'clock in the afternoon to be able to take care of you, to drive you to your sports activities and things like that. So we shared the sales piece. The Japanese customers, you would do more of those at first, but then after a while, then I did all the sales and all the customer relationships. That was my part, and Michel was more
and it was
in the strategy.
more production, strategy, finance. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, what does it take to be successful in sales? What was your approach, or what are some of your thoughts on sales?
One important thing that as we discuss comes to mind is our strategy. We didn't want to work with a company when we chose our customers. We didn't want to work with a company that we had not visited on their locations, and I think that really served us well, because when you visit a customer, first, you have the person-to-person really bond that happens, and you feel if that customer is going to be aligned with your values, with your ideas, with your goals. And also you see their place of business. Some people might appear like they are the big shot and they are the greatest distributor of fruit in such a country. And when you get to their place of business, it's a shack in a suburb. So it tells you a lot. And we selected our customers well because we took the time to visit them at their place of business. Sometimes, we had opportunity to work with a person, but we would not work with them until we had the following summer when we were on our trips and traveling and meeting customers face to face.
Yeah, we had the philosophy that it is for us, the producer, to select the customers, not the other way. And generally, it's the other way at the time, at least. The customer used to select their vendors, but we never went for that. We said, no, it is us. We are the producer. We control the product. So we should have the privilege to decide who we want to sell to. And we were very demanding. We wanted the customers to be aligned with us. And also we had one thing we did, and I'm talking, that was for the citrus business. When we took a new customers, we wanted to make sure that this would not hurt the business of our existing customers. And that's and we had we had a lot of customers who wanted to work with us, and we had to say no, because that would hurt some of our existing customers. And I think that's going to be a key of our success in the citrus business when we were selling fresh fruit.
That's not obvious, because you're really saying no to a lot of opportunities and a lot of customers. And
yes.
In sales, there's kind of a desire to get as much as you can.
Right.
Yeah. No, we used to say no a lot.
Yeah. The idea was we need to know that customer, and then we need to select in each country the best customers in that country, and make sure that they are not competing against each other. So that was our line of thought. How we selected our customers, because people would call us from all over the world, and we didn't know who they were. We research about them, but we would not make a decision working with a person until we met them, until we understood that their market was not competing with an existing customers. So
But how did you do research on a customer who was in a different country before the internet?
I think we talked a lot about people in another country. Let's say we have a person in Belgium that we are considering. We call the people, our customers in Holland, for instance, and said, "Do you know this guy? What have you heard? Is that a good choice for us?" So we talk to different people. It's a small world, the world of fruit or fresh fruit. So people know each other.
So, as the business was growing and developing, you were actually having to manage two separate businesses because you started the ornamental business after the freezes. Was that a challenge to keep your eye and your focus on two different businesses? Did you have was that a challenge?
No, not really. I think no. I've always liked multitask and doing different things, so it has not been a challenge. No.
And did you, the businesses are fairly different because, for example, the sales of the ornamental trees must have been very different than the sales of citrus fruit.
Oh, totally. Yeah, the ornamental trees, we had a totally opposite approach. On the ornamental trees, we were not selecting our customers. We were taking orders. That's it. Whoever had good credit and we knew had the money to buy our tree, we were selling the tree to them. So it was a totally different approach at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well,
Beginning.
we didn't take care of the sales of ornamental tree ourselves. We had hired some people in charge of sales
Yes.
at the beginning.
Yes.
So it's not until we really, at some point I transferred to Cherrylake to sell to head the sales, and I was able to carry out the same strategic selling concept that we had used in citrus, and it served us well. It was really good. We built partnership with customers rather than having, and we protected their market, making sure that there was not too many other landscape contractors that were competing against each other. So it's just that at the beginning in the ornamental business, that was a new business for us. We hired people that were knowledgeable about sales in the ornamental business, and it was at the time order taking.
Mm-hmm. There was a pretty big setback right as you guys were getting ready to sell ornamental trees, because it takes 3 to 5 years to produce anything. So it's interesting because now that I think about it, you were managing cash flow at the time after the freeze, and yet you got into a business that did not provide any cash flow for 5 years. Right. That was an interesting choice. But at any rate, so 5 years into Cherrylake, you finally started getting an inventory ready for sale, and what happened?
Then we had a big hailstorm. That was, I think, in 1992. We had a small tornado and hailstorm, and that's damaged a huge part of the inventory. Maybe, I don't remember the number, but we lost maybe 50% of our inventory. So it was another big setback.
So the freezes, the hailstorm, and then there was more to come, obviously, as we know.
That's the story of ag, I guess. Yeah, every 5 years you have something bad happening.
So how did you address that strategically, and realizing that you were going to be facing these types of natural setbacks and disasters?
Yeah, maybe I can say something about that. Is that we realize every terrible tragedy related to major nature wrath happened, we were diversified. So if the tree farm would be hit, the citrus was thriving and doing well. And if we had issues with freeze or a hurricane, the nursery was doing well. So we very quickly realized the importance of being diversified, and it really served us well and bailed us out of having a tremendous life-threatening situation, because we had another part of the company that was thriving.
Yeah, diversification has been key over the years in saving the business from ruin, really, because I guess the business would have failed at multiple points along the way if it were not for the diversification.
Yeah, diversification was really important. Yeah.
But you stumbled into that, the idea of diversification, because it wasn't planned again.
Right. It was not a strategy at the time.
I think, we knew after the freeze, the 1985 freeze, I think when we knew we wanted to diversify. We wanted to go in a different business than the citrus. We wanted to go in a business where freeze would not be a problem. We did not know about hurricane at the time because on the tree side, on the ornamental tree, the big risk is weather risk is hurricane. It's not freeze, but hurricane can be very damaging. But within each business, I think we try to build diversification in each business. And today, if you look at the business, it's really diversified because you have the nursery production, but it's not only trees, it's also shrubs. There is an outsourcing program where we broker all the trees we don't produce, so that's diversification. You have a maintenance division, a construction division for landscape construction. On the citrus side, you have also the diversification, the fact to do the marketing, the farming, the packing, and the marketing. That's a diversification. It's integration, but it's also diversification. The farming sometimes did pretty bad on the citrus side, but we had the margin of the packing operation or the sales organization. So it's very, very diversified. And today we do outsourcing, a lot of outsourcing in citrus by importing citrus from South America, and the risk is totally different here. You don't have a production risk. So the idea, our obsession, I think, was to build as much diversification as possible everywhere.
Mm-hmm. So the diversification, integration, differentiation.
And differentiation, yes.
The three pillars of our growth, yeah.
Differentiation, we never wanted to compete. We wanted to be different. Otherwise, we did not want to compete on price. Because if you are not different from your competitors, the only thing you can do to get the business is to lower their price. But if you can find something different, and I think that's where we have been very successful, is to build differentiation. I don't think there is one single organization in citrus who can do exactly what we are doing, and there is not one single operation in ornamental trees who can do what we are doing in ornamental trees. So I think that's the key. The key to success, on top of diversification, because ag is so risky that you need to be diversified, and you need a strong balance sheet. You cannot take risk. You need to be careful when you invest your money in ag. You need to assume that you are going to have something bad happening to you, and you need to be ready to face it. And if you have the cash flow to face the big problem, it's great.
It's great because your competition is going to be weakened.
Yes.
And there's usually lots of opportunities that kind of come out of these setbacks or natural disasters or recessions. Mm-hmm. So the financial management, the treasury management, to have a strong balance sheet what does that mean? Like, practically speaking, what kind of decisions were you making?
A strong balance sheet is to be very conservative, and you need to work with the banks, and you need. It's very important for the bank to trust your numbers, and I think that's one of the things we did from day one, or almost day one. We work with the audited financial statement. Audited financial statement, that's expensive, and that's an expense that most business don't want to carry. But just the fact to have audited financial statement, that's you reinforce, you build a trust with your bank, and you have access, better access to financing. So I don't know how much we pay today for audit, maybe $100,000. When we started, the first audit might have been $40,000, which was a lot of money at the time. But you are building so much trust with your bank that it's worth it.
So, as the company grew, you had more and more employees and colleagues joining the company. And to this day, even though you've been retired now for some time, there are sayings that people attribute to each of you that are a big part of our company culture. So I want to share a few of these with you and maybe get your reactions. So let's start with, if it ain't broke, break it and build it back better. What's this all about?
Yeah, I guess this comes when at the beginning, when we were only a broker in the citrus business, we were dealing with 25, 30 different packing houses in the state of Florida. And sometimes it was very frustrating because we knew the quality we wanted, but we could not control. We were not the packer. We were buying the fruit from them to sell to our customers. And it was very difficult for us to get what we wanted. And when I was asking something different to this packing house, 80% of them used to tell me, if it's ain't broken, don't fix it. He said, we can sell our food without any problem this way, so why do you want me to do something different? And I was so shocked to hear that. I said that I was saying, the day I control my business, I will do something totally different, because I was very frustrated to hear that from all our suppliers. I suppose you've heard the same, Veronique. Huh?
Yeah.
If it's unbroke, don't fix it. And
it was very difficult because we would sell to the UK or to France, and they had quality requirement in terms of food safety and taste and stuff like that, and they would come to Florida, and they would arrive in packing houses that have not been remodeled for years. They were dirty, they were old-fashioned, so it was a shock for them. I think the packers in Florida, everything was working well for them. They were making money. They were able to pack the fruit. They didn't want to invest in improving their facilities and making it safer, cleaner, and all these kinds of things that were the expectations of the customers. It was very difficult to take an English guy into a Florida packing house. Well, and we have witnessed some clashes, because they demand some things, and the packers are thinking those guys are crazy. We don't need to do all that.
And it is under the pressure of our customers that we decided to buy a packing house, because they say, okay, you need to buy a packing house, because we know that if you have your own packing house, we know you are going to do much better than most of the other people. Yeah. So if if it's not broken, break it and fix it. And also, what I try to tell the people around, said, hey, I have a philosophy that we can always find the money to invest in a good project. So money is not a problem, should never be a problem. We will find, if the return on investment is here, don't hesitate, break it. But you have to show the return on investment on what you are proposing, of course. But that was one of the things we tried to explain to people in our organization. Money is always available for any project with a good return on investment, and the idea is to find this good return on investment, and to improve what we are doing.
Okay, so here's another saying that lives on. Things are never as bad as they seem, and they are never as good as they seem.
Yeah, that was the phrase, the first phrase, Christmas 1983. I remember I was a little bit depressed, more than a little bit. I was very depressed, and my father was visiting us for Christmas at the time, I think, and he is the one who told me that. And the first time he told me that, I don't know if I believed him. I said, well, he said that just to be nice. But I realized that very soon that he was very right. It's never, things are never as bad as it seems. And I'm the first one to say that these freezes we had in 1983, 1985, it has been a great opportunity for our company, because if we did not have this freeze, we would have grown very big. I think, because we like to grow, we would have grown very big in citrus. And in the 90s, there was overproduction, very bad price, terrible price. And I think we would have been bankrupt if we had grown too much of the citrus without the freeze. If between 85 and 90, if everything had been rosy, we would have grown also the citrus to a level where we would have been in great difficulties in the early 90s, when the price were terrible.
It forced us to diversify.
It forced us to diversify and to go in a very good business, because ornamental trees was the right thing to invest in Florida at the time, because we had all this growth coming to Florida, and there was a need for ornamental trees. So without these trees, we would not have seen this opportunity. So generally, from this crisis, you have great opportunities. Or that's what I've witnessed, so that we had many crises, but they have all been good at the end. All been good.
What about the other side of that saying? Things are never as good as they seem.
Yeah, that's we've seen that. It's very true, and that's maybe when things what I mentioned. If it had been very good, if we did not have any freeze, if the citrus business would have been good between 85 and 90, we would have planted more, and we would have created our own disaster. So I don't have more. Do you have some example of when we feel something is very good, but at the end it was not that good? But they don't come to my mind. But there are many other examples. Yeah.
So we had to take a little break to serve ourselves a glass of poiré. It's l'heure de l'apéritif, as we say in France. And this is a pear cider, which is actually very tasty.
Very good.
So one of the things that I remember you taught me, my sisters, more than teach me, I felt like you were really training
training this, inculcating it into us, that in order to be successful in business, you need to steer clear of fear and greed.
Yes.
What does that mean to you?
First, I think you need to realize that any crisis is an opportunity. And if you have this attitude that there are opportunities in any crisis, you have no fear. You should not be fearful. You should work at finding the opportunity in the crisis, because there is one always. So I'm convinced of that. And greed is bad, because as you said, mentioned earlier, things are never as good as you think. And when it's too good, that's when you have to be worried. You have to say, hey, something is going to happen.
But I think the greed and fear can be connected. You know, the fear to lose what you have, and I think for us that never was really an issue. We would never think in terms of what you accumulate, what you get, but we were just into the accomplishing things, working towards our strategies and things like that. And if you are, and we did lose a lot of money on some of those events, you know, freezes and hailstorms and things like that. So, but that was never, you know, you took care of the cash flow, so that was concerning, but it was not about money. It was, we had the luxury to think about what we were doing, not so much in terms of money, but in terms of accomplishment and entrepreneuring and business relationship with our customer, our vendor, and things like that. That was the pursuit.
You want to build a sustainable business. I think that's what is important.
Sustainable, yeah.
So never take money, too much money out of the business. That doesn't make any sense, and we never did that. Mm-hmm. For personal expenses, we had a normal way of life, lifestyle. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's a thing that I think we really try to pass on to our children and grandchildren. You know, that having an extravagant lifestyle is not a good thing. It can hurt you. Your purpose should not be money. It shouldn't be money. Money can ruin every good thoughts. So I think we you know, I'm very rewarded to see that my children are not like that. And now we want to pass it on to our grandchildren, you know, to make sure that their values in life are clear of just money.
But back to building the sustainable business, you were talking about having a strong balance sheet in order to withstand the inevitable adversity that you face in agriculture, mm-hmm. probably in all businesses, but agriculture especially. And so that's the mindset, is that the money that the company makes needs to be kept on the balance sheet and in the company treasury in order to survive.
Yes.
The next crisis.
Yes.
Right. And I think for us, the success of our company was a responsibility to our customers and our vendors, but also mostly to the families that worked in our company. And we were always very aware of the importance of us being successful, so that we can offer those. Because it created jobs for a lot of families, that depended on our success for their lifestyle. But that has been very, very interesting, defining who we were, having our values exposed and promoting them to our employees, using our values to hire the right people that would be aligned and happy working for a company with those kinds of values, those kind of purpose. So it was really all coming together. We were able to know who we were, to be able to hire the people that would be happy with us, and also promote that outside the company, because it's important to work with people, with vendors or customers that are that have the same value. Then work becomes fun. If you are always fighting a different purpose in your customer or in your vendors or in your employees, it's not fun. It just needs to be all natural and harmonious in a way.
So you're saying that values are really important to align the organization internally, but also externally with customers and vendors, and that creates a sort of flow.
Right.
Yeah, I think what we realize that if you want to build partnership with your customers, and that's the objective, is to have a strong win-win partnership with your customers. It's more important, rather than promoting the quality of your product, it's more important to promote the quality of your culture, quality of the organization. And it's more fun, I think, also for the people working in the organization, knowing that they are the one we promote. It's not the quality of the product will come. If we have a quality organization, quality people will always produce quality product. So promotion should be done around the quality of the organization.
So at what point did you start thinking in terms of an organization? It was no longer just a few of you. Was there a moment, or?
Yeah,
I think we read a lot of books, and we realized that and there was a lot of knowledge now that a lot of people were not happy in their work. They would come to work and they would be fast to leave in the evening and turn off the turn off their interest from the work, and we thought it's not right. We want people to come and bring their whole into their work, because they all have tremendous qualities, and we want to create an atmosphere and a place where people are happy working and are able to collaborate and cooperate fully towards the goals of the organization. And so we realized it was, an organization where people are unhappy is just not going to be successful. And it's a contribution we could make to the people working for us, that they would have happiness within their job. That was a big goal for us.
Mm-hmm. You are both retired, and you've passed on the leadership of the company to the second generation, which is my sisters and I. It was a difficult process, or a long process to plan and execute the transition. What are some of your thoughts on how to successfully transition a business?
No, I think it's one of our greatest success, the transition. And I must say that I started very early to think about the transition, not knowing which type of transition it was, but it was on my mind for, I would say, 30 years before I retired.
So you did plan for that.
Yes, that was, yes.
And what struck you that you thought you needed to plan so far in advance?
Because I was obsessed by sustainability. To me, a company needs to live forever. A successful company. And that's, I know it's a challenge, you know, when I said that I started 30 years before retiring, I had no idea if my children would be interested or not. So I had in my plan, I had to consider that it would be a succession without my children. So I think I spent a lot of time and energy to prepare the company for a succession.
What types of things were you considering as options?
I guess all the options, you know, employee ownerships was one of them. Finding some outside company to take over, to merge and to manage the company. Yeah, that's. I think I considered everything.
And then, of course, all of us chose to work in the business, and over the years, we made our way through the not the ranks, but we gained our own experiences.
Which was the best I could hope, because I wanted this to stay to be a, if possible, to stay a family business. Yes.
So, what are your thoughts now on the succession and what the future of the company may be, and how are you experiencing this transition where you're no longer involved in the day-to-day and kind of handing it off? How does that strike you?
Well, it's wonderful to be a spectator and to look at success happening. I think it's very nice not to be involved in it, but to be how do you say that? To be a spectator, I guess. Yeah. And I'm very, very excited because I see not only the second generation is running successfully this company, but I see that the third generation has some interest, and I see some very big talent in the third generation coming. So I think it's going to be great.
Just maybe add something that not only did each of you have 20 years with the business, with different experiences in sales, production, finance, but you also, you know, have more than that, because from your very young age, you were listening to us talking at the dinner table about the business, and you met, you know, you had dinner with our Chinese customers. I remember one evening where you were all there with Mr. Chen, and you know, and all of that was additional training, additional understanding of the business. So the transition was as smooth as it could be, because you carried our values, you knew the experience of the business, you know, what happened when we had difficulties, and so all of that was additional training from having to hire another person from outside the company or outside the family.
Yeah, there is nothing stronger than a family business, I think. I think family business are something unique. And if we can keep it for many generations to come, it's wonderful. And I think on the other hand, we need we need to realize that some family members might not want to be involved in the business in the future, and that you need to have an exit for them, so that they can still benefit from the company but not be involved in the company. And I think we have a very good family stockholders agreement, which will address all these issues in the future, I think.
So in the end, there was a lot of planning, though not so much in the beginning.
Yes, a lot of planning at the end. Yes, a lot of strategy, a lot of planning, and not at the beginning. Yes, at the beginning it was, we reacted to a crisis and opportunities. Yeah.
Well, I have maybe just one final thing I want to discuss, and that's something that came about relatively recently, I would say, while we were making the transition to the second generation and defining a little bit with more clarity how we wanted to perceive our work and how we are with our customers and vendors and employees. And you said something to me, and we wrote it down. It's a statement that I find to be very meaningful. And the statement is, we choose to see the good, the true, and the beautiful in everyone and everything. So where did this come from, and what does it mean to you?
I think it's experience, something that I experience deep within. It's a choice, and it's a way to be happy, to you can see the good and the beautiful in everything, or you can be driven by fear and completely miss the beauty that is shown at you every day, through nature, through people. So it's a recipe to be happy, because the beautiful and the good and the true is all around us. But we need to be aware of it. If we become aware of it and we see that every day, I think we would be happy and make people happy around us. It's more of a little spiritual thing, something that guides me, and I'm happy to share it. And when I passed it on to you, Tim, you echoed it, and now it's part of our company. Maybe it's going to be, if it ain't broken, break it and make it better. This may be replacing some of those things that we had before, just a little bit more. It's uplifting to me, so I think it would be uplifting for a lot of people if they can do that. It's a way to be happy.
It's a beautiful way, and it is meaningful at the day-to-day level in business, as well as in all aspects of life, but in business, when you're seeing your customer, you're seeing your colleague, you're seeing the market, you're seeing the adversity. Well, there is an opportunity to look for the true and the good and the beautiful, and in that process, I find that it does drive us to lift each other up, and in doing that, we create opportunity for everyone and for the business. And I'm not sure that everybody that yet can appreciate the power of this view. Because it takes a little bit of depth to see it in action, but I see it, and I live by it. I try to, at least.
Yeah, and it's a little bit related. I think we said in the company what is important is to come and bring your whole self, your physical self, your psychological self, your knowledge, and your spiritual self. And I think, in our company, I think it's a place where people can express those kinds of things, and that makes me super proud. I think it's not a lot of places where you can. share on that level.
Well, is there anything we haven't shared or touched on that you guys would like to end on?
No, that's hey, we are very proud of the second generation and what the second generation is doing for the company. I think the vision is great, and I'm excited, and I cannot wait to see the result, because as an observer, it's a lot of fun to see this company grow and grow in the right direction.
Well, thank you very much for sharing your story, and I learned some new things this evening, and I'm sure our audience will learn something as well. So it's a beautiful story, and well worth sharing. So thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Tim.
you. What did you learn?
You didn't have a plan.